morning, everyone. I'm Eileen Prose. The first three segments of today's show are devoted to something you might very much want to get involved in. Your opinion will be welcomed here, and perhaps you even have a family member who is involved with this organization that we'll be discussing. Time magazine called it the cult of greed, but celebrities like Tom Cruise, Kirstie Alley, and John Travolta disagree, claiming the religion of Scientology contains the secret of the universe. Meet Monica Pignotti. When she first got involved with Scientology, she thought it was a program for self-improvement. But once she was privy to the workings of the upper echelons of the group, she says she saw a different picture, one of greed, mind control, and manipulation. Also, meet Bob Grosswald. He saw his son Paul manipulated by Scientology. The church gave Paul an ultimatum: break with your family or Scientology. Paul is with us on the phone, and we'll speak to him in a moment. And later we'll hear from a cult expert who believes Scientology is a cult, and a United Methodist minister and a representative from the Church of Scientology who disagree. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
When did you first get involved, Monica?
I first got involved when I was 17 years old. I was a freshman in college. And before I start talking about this, I just want to make one point. And I'm not here to attack anybody's religious belief. I fully support religious freedom, whether the ideas are traditional or not, because I'm not the most traditional person in the world myself. And what I'm here to talk about is the practices of this cult that I didn't know existed when I first got involved.
And some of those practices, well, first of all, you were very close to the organization in that you spent quite a bit of time on board the yacht.
Yes, I did.
L. Ron Hubbard lived on. He lived on that because he feared that the American authorities were after him, I suppose, and was going from place to place.
Right, and the location was secret, and I went on board this yacht about 2 years after I had gotten involved. And one of the points of this cult is that the recruiting techniques are very deceptive because they don't tell what the inside doctrine is of the group. That's one thing that's true of any cult. There's an insider doctrine, and there's the doctrine that they tell the public, the celebrities, the nice posh restaurant and hotel that they have down in Clearwater, all the glitter that's on the outside. They don't talk about what goes on the inside, and still goes on today.
What did you see that became really disturbing to you?
Well, first of all, it was completely controlled, militaristic atmosphere. And I had gotten to this point because I was subjected to mind control and I didn't know it. And mind control and brainwashing are two different things. Brainwashing is when a person is prisoner, they know that they're being brainwashed. But mind control, I believed I was making my own choices, giving my full consent. I believed I was doing drills to learn how to communicate back at the mission where I first got involved at the age of 17, 18 years old. And we would do these drills that they called training regimens that we were told would help us to communicate. But they consisted of what I now have learned are hypnotic techniques where we would sit and we'd look into somebody's eyes for hours. One time I did that drill like up to 12 hours a day. I was going into more and more of a trance. And this is what really goes on. And so this is why, after 2 years, I signed a $1 billion contract, something I never would have done if I had known.
Did they expect you to live 1 billion years to honor the contract?
Well, they believe in future lives.
Okay.
And that's fine, but they should make their beliefs clear at the beginning.
You were also, didn't you speak out against something, and weren't you kind of imprisoned in some form?
Well, yes, they have a group within Scientology called the Rehabilitation Project Force. And that's a group for dissidents, basically. If somebody says they don't, but they're still in Scientology. But it's a punishment. Some people have referred to it as a concentration camp where we were restricted to the ship. They had everybody's passport anyway. It was like standard procedure, so it was very difficult to leave. If we wanted to leave, we would be subjected to a series of what they call confessionals, which is another thing that all cult groups have in common, is making people tell all their secrets.
So what happened to you? You were restricted
I was
to the
on
ship?
the ship. Well, first I wasn't restricted. It was an honor because I had been what they call an auditor. That's the Scientology version of a counselor in Los Angeles. When I first signed the $1 billion contract, I was working there, and I was invited to come to the ship for training. And so apparently they thought highly of me then, even though they wouldn't say so now. And so I was training with the goal of returning to Los Angeles to be one of the top leaders in the technical field.
You have a training manual on your lap.
Well, this is something else, actually. This is something that I had no idea existed when I was in, because people are only told what they need to know to do their job. And this is their intelligence bureau. It was called the Guardian Office. Now it's called the Office of Special Affairs. They renamed it after several top executives were sent to prison. And now they say we don't do it anymore. They've changed the names. Don't believe it. I've talked to very recent people. But this is called TRL. And it trains, this is one of the examples of the practices. What church trains their people how to lie?
Let me, as I read over your shoulder, read the purpose.
Purpose: to train the student to give a false statement with good TR1. TR1 is a drill that we all did, where we would read from Alice in Wonderland, believe it or not, and we'd have to get our communication across.
Okay, and then it goes on.
And so it was to like basically get to train the student to outflow false data effectively. This was one of the documents that was seized.
It was. Okay, how old is this?
This was, how old is it?
Yeah, how old is this manual?
Oh, well, these are different things. I have various different things, like how to break into buildings, that kind of stuff.
There's a diagram there on how to do that.
Right.
But how old is this particular manual?
That particular, that was seized in the 70s. I have spoken to people very recently out that tell me it still goes on.
We'll come back to you. Let's get to you, Bob. Your son Paul is on the phone, but let's first hear from the father.
Right. Paul came home one intercession. He goes to school at Hofstra on Long Island. It's not that far from where we live, but it's still about 40 minutes. And he's taking a communication course at Dianetics to improve his communication skills. And I said, gee, that's terrific. I mean, I see Dianetics advertised on television. I see it prominently displayed in bookstores, and I figure what could be wrong with it. As time went on, we went down to the Dianetics Center to meet some people. By the time my wife and I left the Dianetics Center, we didn't know what was wrong, but we certainly knew something was wrong. And this may sound a little ridiculous, but I'm a smoker, so I'm conscious of people who smoke. And at this point, I already started reading of Dianetics and learned about the state of clear, which is when you have all awareness and total recall, and you get rid of all your, what they call engrams, your bad feelings, which causes all your psychosomatic ills. And this lady was smoking. And I just felt that an organization that had all the answers, one of the first things I would do is quit smoking. And I think there's an answer to that, and that's Hubbard smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day, and Scientology never thought this was a big deal. But what do you tell your kid? You don't want him to go there.
Well, what did you see in him? Did you see a change?
At this point, he was much more euphoric. He was more outgoing. Not that he wasn't an outgoing kid before, but he seemed to be happier with the way things were going. But the kind of answers we got down at the Dianetics Center were just non-answers. They just didn't make any sense, and you can't put your finger on it. To show you how upset we were with it, we didn't know why, but when we were asked to take a free seminar, my wife and I said, let's get the heck out of here. But I'm an educated person. My wife is educated. I know nothing about cults. They shave their heads, they wear robes and sandals, and sell flowers at the airport.
That's not the Scientologists. You say that in all fairness.
This is my perception.
Right.
As an uneducated person about cults. This is my perception. They come from dysfunctioning families. They come from people who have real severe mental problems.
That's all a myth.
That's all a myth.
It can happen to anybody because it is mind control.
But I guess I want to get to what happened to Paul that made you do an exit counseling.
Well, before I had to do an exit counseling, I had to find out what was happening to my son. And I'm asking everybody around, what's Dianetics? And everybody says to me, oh, that's that self-help book. I'm trying to show how unaware we are of what's going on and how important it is that people in this country start learning the techniques of mind control.
Okay.
And there's a very good book out that really helped me, because when I got out, I didn't understand what I had gone through. I was terribly confused. And 12 years later, I came across a book called Combating Cult Mind Control. And all of a sudden, I understood, because this group affected my life for 18 years.
But I want to get to why you and your wife were disturbed with this.
Because after a very short period of time, Paul is now working on staff at the Dianetics Center, not in New York, but in Hempstead, right down the street from his school. He wants to leave school to take a training course in California. And I said, what about school? He says, well, that's not that important. I can learn everything I have to know about life inside Scientology. That's more important. We convinced him to stay. I still don't know what Dianetics is, but now I'm pretty sure it's a cult, but what do I do about it? I had asked my sister, who is a guidance counselor in one of the school districts on Long Island, if she knew anything about it, and she said she would check. The day that Paul came in at 12 o'clock midnight, which is a real good time to discuss this thing with your parents while you're half asleep. He tells us that he went back to school, he's had it, he can't stand it, we're controlling, and he's just got to get out. And he was accepted into the Sea Org, which is their honor group, and he was moving in with them.
Paul, you're on the line. Talk to us about Scientology, and did they make a demand that it was between, you had to make a choice, it was either your parents or them?
Well, they, excuse me, I had joined in September of '89, and I was very subtly pulled into it. I started just as a member of the public buying courses, and after a couple of months they asked me to join staff, and I was reluctant the first few times they asked me, and eventually they just broke down my resistance using all different kinds of manipulation techniques. Eventually they convinced me to join staff, and a few weeks after that they convinced me to join the Sea Org. Now, they weren't telling me to disconnect from my parents right away until I went back and told them that my parents didn't want me to go to California, and they didn't want me to, they didn't want me to drop out of school, and I started telling them that my parents were getting a little upset. And that's when they started telling me that I had to handle my parents, which they never really explained how you have to handle them. They just told me that I had to do something to handle my parents, or else I wouldn't be able to be a Scientologist anymore. And so they gave me all different kinds of training techniques and drills that I can use. And finally, when my parents finally decided to have me exit counseled, and the exit counseling failed originally, and I went back to the Organization of Special Affairs to report what had happened, the Organization of Special Affairs decided to have me excommunicated from the church because my parents were just creating too much trouble. So,
hooray for us.
Yeah, I have to ask you, what's the bottom line here for you, Paul? What, in your opinion, kept you from staying in that church? What's wrong with it?
what kept me from staying?
What's wrong with it?
Okay, well, what's wrong with it is that they use mind control and manipulation, and everything that they preach, they don't practice what they preach, and the things that they tell you are true are not true. I mean, they tell you that they can give you the ability to leave your body at will and do all these kind of crazy tricks, and in fact, none of that ever really happens. And the thing is that I probably would not have left if I wasn't excommunicated. Like I said, the exit counseling didn't work. It was only after I had been out of it for a while that I started to snap out of it, and I started to see things a little differently.
And now, are you glad that you're not there?
Now I'm glad I'm not in it anymore, definitely.
Okay,
now
Bob,
I can see what they do. I mean, I've visited a couple of Scientology orgs since I've been out, and I've bumped into people and I've talked to them, and I can see how bizarre they are and how strange they are and how almost unhuman they are. Whereas when I was in it, it didn't seem that way at all.
All right, well, I thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, Paul.
Say hi to your dad. And you two know each other, too,
Oh,
huh?
sure.
Let's take a break here, and when we come back, we will add Steve Hassan to our conversation. Steve specializes in exit counseling, ex-cult members. In fact, Steve is a former member of the Unification Church. And Reverend Sargon Ibrahim, who thinks that the Church of Scientology is being unfairly persecuted. And Dave Aden. Dave is a member of the Church of Scientology. And we'd also like to hear from you at home. Perhaps you have someone who's a member. Maybe you have something good or something that's not so positive to add to this. We'll hear both sides. We'll be right back.
On April 17, 1991, after conducting an independent evaluation of national weight loss companies, the respected San Francisco Chronicle said this about Jenny Craig. Of the leading national programs, the food rated highest in taste, texture, and appearance. The cost was reasonable. Overall, the program included all the components that contribute to successful weight loss. Thank you, San Francisco Chronicle. Here's more good news. Lose all you want for just a $39.50 service fee. Call 1-800-76-JENNY.
Now there's hairspray that won't ever run out on you. Vidal Sassoon's Airspray and non-aerosol hairspray. Now in refills, so that salon hold keeps holding on.
When I grow up, I want to be a ballerina.
No one ever says, I want to be a junkie when I grow up. Don't let drugs get in the way of your dreams.
Does this person look relaxed? Actually, I'm conducting an experiment. I'm checking out Contour's Deluxe Model 535 chair. See, it has power slide adjustability, so you can adjust yourself to hundreds of relaxing positions. And the 535 comes complete with 2 built-in heat and 2 built-in massage units. Turn them on and they may provide temporary relief from low back pain. Of course, the ultimate beauty of this Deluxe 535 is its low price. Because it's not custom built and doesn't come in leather, it's available at less than 50% of the Contour Granada's price. That's right, less than 50%. Call me and I'll mail you free facts about Contour. To get Contour's free catalog, call right away. Well, back to work.
Call toll-free 1-800-228-1010. That's 1-800-228-1010. Toll-free 1-800-228-1010.
14 years ago, Steve Hassan was the assistant director of the Unification Church at its national headquarters. Since he left the Moonies, he has devoted his life to helping others involved in destructive cults. He says that the Church of Scientology is a dangerous cult that uses mind control on its members. And United Methodist minister Sargon Abraham disagrees. He says the Church of Scientology is being unfairly persecuted. Also joining us this morning is Dave Aden. David is a Scientologist who is here to explain the Church's position and I'm sure respond to some of these charges that are made. And our phone lines are open. Please do join us. Good morning to all of you.
Morning.
Now, Reverend, you are a minister of what
I am
church?
a mainline United Methodist minister and one who believes in freedom of religion in the American way and democracy and the traditions of this country.
Okay, I think we all agree with that.
May I
completely agree.
May I add, Eileen, that you misintroduced this man. I checked with the church authorities. He was no way a leader in the Unification Church. He was there between 74, excuse me, sir, I love you, but I got to tell you the truth.
You're going to tell me the truth about my experience in the church?
74 to 76, he was there 2 years. You must be a super genius to learn all about the intricacies of that religion in 2 years. I've been a minister.
May I respond?
I've been a minister 37 years. I've been a minister 37 years without, I'm not finished, 37 years a Methodist minister, and I don't yet know all the intricacies of the Methodist Church. In 2 years, you became an authority.
Would you let Steve respond then?
Yes.
But we really are here to talk about Scientology.
Right.
Go ahead, Steve.
It was a personal attack. Moon moved to the United States in 73. I joined in February of 74. I was picked up by Takeru Kamiyama, who was one of the people sent to jail with Moon, who was convicted, and I was made one of his 12 American disciples. I was assistant director of the Unification Church at national headquarters, and my credentials are that I'm a mental health professional, I have a master's degree, I've authored a best-selling book called Combating Cult Mind Control.
All right, Steve, I'm going to stop you, just because we want to get off on
Eileen,
Unification Church. We want to talk about Scientology. Dave, why don't you pick it up here and respond to some of these charges?
Well, the first thing I'd want to say is that Scientology is a worldwide religion. I don't think we have a definition so far of what Scientology is. It is a worldwide expanding religion. It has a technique, a technology that allows a person to unravel some of the puzzles and some of the problems of life. It has really a technology. It's a pathway to help people understand their lives better, understand their abilities better, and achieve greater freedom. In particular, the church has a large number of programs dealing with freedom from drugs, freedom from drug abuse, freedom from illiteracy, whether that's freedom from immorality and the traps of immorality. The church is very involved in many activities.
Having said that, respond to what Paul said about mind control and what we've heard this morning so far. Mind control and saying control your parents, make a choice. This manual specifically, would you respond to those three things?
And see if I can get them all in order.
Okay, mind control, first of all.
Well, the first thing is these three people I have in common, not Scientology. Steve Hassan knows and has said before that he knows.
Are you answering the question? Excuse me.
Would you you're attacking us. This is what Hubbard told them to do in his policy letters. Attack the people that are attacking us.
Let me finish.
I want to hear from Dave. Just answer the question of mind control. Is there mind control within Scientology?
Absolutely not. It is absolutely not. And
what
it
about
is
this training?
Wait a minute. Let's deal with mind control first. What these people have in common is the Cult Awareness Network, or CAN. They engage in mind control. Whether you talk to a deprogrammed Scientologist, a deprogrammed Catholic, a deprogrammed Protestant, and
I
these
was
people
never
exist,
deprogrammed. I walked out.
Wait a minute. And these people exist. The fact of the matter is they would say the same thing about their church as these people are saying about the Church of Scientology.
If the Church of Scientology is so pure and such a good religion, why this massive ad campaign? In fact, Brian, if you'll find that article for me, I don't know why. Yes, well, there you have it. I am a Scientologist, this big one-page ad with all of these people in it.
This was in, I believe, yesterday's or earlier this week. USA Today.
Right.
Now,
who are those people? Are they all who they say they are?
Obviously. These are Scientologists from a wide variety of professions and jobs. Scientologists are everywhere. It is a large, expanding organization on a worldwide basis, and if somebody wants to pick up the USA Today, there is information about it. The other thing that I would suggest, because we don't have time to explain the entirety of Scientology here, as I said, it's a worldwide religion. What I would suggest is that people pick up this book. I don't know if it can be seen with the reflection. Scientology, The Fundamentals of Thought. That explains the fundamentals of Scientology.
Well, Monica says it doesn't explain. And just to respond to the ad in the paper, were you posing for pictures?
I posed for a series of photographs that were personally taken by L. Ron Hubbard aboard the Apollo when he went on photo shoots. And I can tell you, I don't know about these pictures, but my own pictures that he took of me were completely acted. He had me, they put pale makeup on me, had me lying in a hospital bed, made me up, this is in the book, What is Scientology, by the way, made to look very sick, and then the next shot they showed me getting a touch-assist, which is something that Scientology say heals people, helps people to feel better when they're sick. And then it showed me looking the picture of health, walking out the door, and it was all acting.
Right, Steve, your turn.
What I'd like to say here is that we all support religious freedom.
Amen.
We all believe that people have the right to believe whatever they want.
Absolutely.
The problem with mind control cults is that people are not being told up front, people meaning people who are being recruited, are not being told up front who the group is, what they believe, and what's expected of them. So if you were getting a used car and you're being told that it has 20,000 miles and it has 100,000 miles, that's called fraud. Unfortunately, if you call yourself a religion, it's not fraud. Secondly, there's mind control techniques: behavior control, thought control, emotional control, and information control. And the drills that Monica was describing, the TRs, where you sit opposite the person without reacting, sometimes for hours, is hypnosis.
Absolutely.
This is what they are training
Let's
people
get Bob, and
in
then we'll come to you, Reverend. Bob, and then we'll come to you, Dave.
I just want to reaffirm my belief in individual right to religion.
I completely agree with that.
But what kind of religion hurts its members? What kind of religion gives a parent a tape? Let's Be Friends, is that the name of it? I can't remember the name. I try to block it out of my head. Let's Be Friends. That denounces education, that denounces psychiatry and medical benefits, that denounces family if they should get in the way. What kind of religion tries to hurt people like that?
And charges exorbitant
And then charges
fees
for it.
their, like down in Clearwater, auditing is up to over $900 an hour.
Eileen,
Reverend,
what kind of church is that?
And this tape wasn't put out by the Cult Awareness Network. This tape was put out by your organization.
With all due respect, it's unfair. They had the first part of the show.
You go
now
right
they
ahead.
interfere, and please allow me to finish.
Go ahead.
I like you, Eileen, and believe me, I watch you. My wife and I watch you. We love you. Just allow me to finish
Go
my
right
statement.
ahead.
First of all, these so-called cults, and who is here to define what cults are?
I am.
You are wrong. You're not an authority.
I am most certainly an
You
authority.
don't have a depth experience.
I have.
You don't have the
I have
right.
17 years of
Hold it.
experience.
Eileen, please.
Steve, let him finish.
Will you stop?
But
and
don't say that I don't
brainwash
have.
me now.
Don't say that I don't
You're
have
not-
experience. But I have
What are
17
you?
years.
An exit counselor?
I have a master's
All
degree
right,
in
just stop it.
psychology. I'm
Stop
an
it.
acknowledged authority.
All right.
in
Let me
cults.
finish. In his speech, which I have here, in a speech and an article he wrote.
But wait, why
not
are we
only-
attacking Steve? Let's
Because-
explain your
All right,
position on
I
Scientology.
am talking about the freedom of religion. That's what I told your producer that
I
I'm
said
here
right
for.
at the beginning,
Excuse
I'm all
me,
for
please
that.
do not interfere. Please, I respect your right for what you said. You've had plenty of time.
I'd
Let me
like
just
to
say
hear
this.
you say it respectfully. Would you say
In
it?
his article, he said, Eileen, he said even now, after he left the unconstitutional, undemocratic methods of kidnapping and deprogramming and giving shots to people, now
Never.
he claims he has given those
That's an absolute
unconstitutional
lie.
things
Let me
up.
defend
And you
myself.
know what? Now he advocates in his letter, and I have it here, to blackmail people, to bribe them so you can get these cult members out of there in his clutches.
See, they're
And
doing
this is
exactly
doing the
what
most un-American,
I want you-
undemocratic,
I
have to
setting
respond.
one
I have to
country
respond.
like-
I need to defend
setting
myself.
one
I'm not trying to defend you.
and,
I-
and dividing
he
the
has been
American
accusing
people.
me.
And it was. and when
You are giving cult propaganda, which you have
No,
been
no,
told.
no, no.
Yes, yes,
no,
yes,
no.
yes.
Steve,
You,
yes,
you
Steve,
are
yes,
a
you
can't just
person
wipe it all
without morals.
Let Dave have his turn.
When you do that,
let me
when
read
you
it.
blackmail
anything.
people, and
You
here
don't
is
know
your...
anything.
Where no one's getting a point in here, Reverend. Just a
Okay.
moment.
Let
No,
me
we
read
have to be
something.
fair
Read my
time-wise.
book.
Let me read
Combating
something. I
cult
think
mind
this
control.
is an affidavit that I think will illustrate partly what Reverend Ibrahim is saying, and then I'd like to follow up with why I feel this is important, because it is important. This is from an affidavit. It says, during that 30 minutes, I had desperately tried to convince everyone present that I was being held against my will and that what they were doing was illegal. When I tried to leave, my arms were seized by the men and I was thrown down to the tile floor, causing me to hit the tile floor, receiving a cut on the inside of my lower lip. My hands and feet were then tied and I was carried into the small room and placed on a cot where the deprogrammers, Ellen Lloyd and Steve Hassan, began in shifts to deprogram me.
Okay, this
is an
affidavit is phony. Roselle left
it is right here.
11 years ago. He left the Moonies 11 years ago.
Excuse me, gentlemen. This is still my show. I would like to get on with Scientology, not the Moonies. In 1977, 11 church leaders were sent to prison, including L. Ron Hubbard's third wife, for wiretapping, burglarizing FBI, CIA, government offices around the country to sabotage a government investigation on Scientology. True?
No. Actually, part of that is true. They were sent to prison. That's absolutely true. But the whole package was not entirely true.
You're saying that they were sent to prison wrongly, but they were in fact found guilty.
No, I'm saying they were sent to prison. That is absolutely true. What, as I understand it, their intention was to get documents which the government was illegally withholding concerning Scientology. I don't condone it. Neither does the church. All of those 11 people were summarily fired. The fact of the matter is...
But it must have been policy at the time.
Oh, absolutely not.
After time, we don't do it anymore,
wait
but
a minute. Let me finish, please. They were summarily fired. It absolutely was not policy. That is why that entire office that associated with those people was completely cleaned out. The fact of the matter is, the Church of Scientology policy has always been
Hubbard's wife was head of the guard.
Would you please let me finish? You are the rudest person on this set.
You just said I had no morals and accused me of shooting people with drugs.
Has always been to follow the laws of the land.
Just a moment, Davis speaking. All right, now, Monica, respond. It wasn't closed?
Well, I know that every charge I have made, the mind control techniques, they still go on. I counsel people out of this. I've been doing that for the last 2.5 years.
She's a deprogrammer. It's true.
I'm not a deprogrammer.
When you counsel people out of it,
it's non-forcible. The person has to talk to me voluntarily, or I leave the room if there's any attempt at force being made. Mr. Grosswald can vouch for that.
My son was on the phone. He was not kidnapped. He was not brainwashed. And in fact, he said that it failed. And how did it fail? At some point, he decided that he wanted to go back, which he did, of his free will.
And that's how I operate as well.
And I would say, in terms of Scientology's policy,
and that's my book.
I would say that if there was a problem with the church, I would be more than happy
with
anyone.
Let's go out to lunch. I'll stay in Boston today. We'll go out to lunch and we'll talk about it.
Can we? Access to the information
I'd be happy. Let's go out to lunch.
We'll go out to lunch.
I'd be happy to do that.
Let's have Paul in here. We've asked him to wait. He's on the phone. Paul?
Hi there.
What are your thoughts as you listen?
Well, I'm hearing that a lot of confusion. I can't see the faces, so I can't even tell who's talking a lot of the time. Scientologists are basically like that, though. They're very close-minded and won't let... I remember at my exit counseling session, I wasn't letting the exit counselors do their job because I was so busy trying to say what I wanted to say. And it's just... You're programmed that you are right, and nobody else has any right to tell you what's right, and they become very stubborn, and it's almost like they're robots. These people aren't even the Scientologist, Dave Aden. He's not even letting anybody else get a word in edgewise. That's what it sounds like to me. I wanted to ask Dave. I wanted to ask Dave something though. You asked him before if there was mind control used, and he said no. And I want to ask him if he has any idea what mind control is, if he knows what the techniques are, because there's a lot of mind control going on in there.
Do you know, Dave?
Absolutely, absolutely. Mind control has a very specific definition, which has been warped.
Okay,
it's a great question.
It is the use of force. It is the use of drugs.
It is not the use of force.
It is use of drugs to change someone's mind.
That's the difference between brainwashing and mind control.
I'm sorry, mind control.
The person believes they're consenting.
Was thoroughly researched and exposed. Unfortunately, and horrifically enough, by government agencies in the 50s and 60s. The CIA was heavily involved in it.
And they gave it up because it didn't work.
Many people that are critical of Scientology say that you really appeal to the young people in this world who are looking for answers, and that you get a very young mind and you bring them in. You shake your head and say,
young people, certainly. Middle-aged people. I sell dental supplies, and I can't tell you how many dentists fall for this sterling management,
Elderly
which is nothing more than Dianetics, designed up for a professional.
Eileen.
A front company. Sterling is a front company, some
Absolutely.
accused for Scientology.
Sterling is a management company which uses the management methods of Hubbard.
Owned
Their
by
standard
Scientology.
line.
Absolutely not. No, it's a private.
And why is it a wise company?
Standard line.
It is a private company using the methodology of Hubbard in management. Again, what I would say is we're not going to answer everything concerning Scientology, especially because Hubbard has written on a vast number of subjects.
Did Hubbard, we're going to break, I hear the music. Sure. Did Hubbard once say the greatest way for a man to make $1 million is to start a religion?
No, he didn't, actually.
He's quoted here in a Time magazine article as having said that.
No, he didn't.
Maybe
It was actually George Orwell who said it in a letter, and I have the document in my office.
We'll take a break, and if you at home would like to join this conversation, we'll get you in somehow. We'll be right back.
Solo cuts in place because life should be a party.
Are you tired of working for others? Do you ever dream of being your own boss? Thousands have achieved financial independence, and so can you by visiting the Franchise and Business Opportunity Show this weekend. Why do people want to run their own business?
Because if I'm going to work hard for someone, I want it to be myself.
Franchises, distributorships, home businesses. Find the business that suits you at the Franchise and Business Opportunity Show this weekend at the Bayside Expo Center off the I-93 Expressway. Your future could depend on it.
Yeah! Make it radical.
Hey, make it grocery.
Hey, anybody thirsty? Okay, we got OJ, some purple stuff, some soda, Sunny Delight.
I'll try Sunny Delight.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's got healthy junk. So what?
Hey, guys.
All right. Hey, Megan, our name is Mrs. B.
Thanks.
You got a cool world.
Sunny Delight, the good stuff kids go for.
This is the winning ticket in Friendly School Cash Sweepstakes. Over $10 million in cash and prizes. Pal. This is the winning ticket in Friendly School Cash Sweepstakes. Over $10 million in cash and prizes. This is the winning ticket in Friendly School Cash Sweepstakes. Over, give me.
Every ticket's a winner in the Friendly's Cool Cash Sweepstakes. Game cards available at all Friendly's restaurants and in specially marked packages of Friendly's ice cream.
This is the winning ticket in Friendly School. Tough town.
Solo cups and plates because life should be a party.
I can't tell you what's been going on here in this studio. You're all at each other. I just hope we can get some points across. You're on the phone. Let's take a call. Good morning. You're on Good Day.
Good morning.
Go right ahead.
Yes, hi. This is Heather calling from Cambridge.
Go ahead, Heather.
And I have a brother who is been declared with a mental illness called schizophrenia, which unfortunately the Church of Scientology does not recognize as a bona fide illness. And he has been involved 10 plus years with the Scientologists on and off, and has tried on extreme occasions to get away from the church and has been not allowed to. And due to his illness, if you know anything about schizophrenia, it is an unfortunate thing where they're persuaded into doing a lot of things that they shouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And one is to not take their medication. Unfortunately, my brother has done this on their advice and has been homeless, has been on the street selling his blood, has been turned away from his family because that's what the church advocates, that my mother is a suppressive, and he shouldn't have anything to do with us if we don't agree to him spending his money on books.
Right. All right, Heather, we hear you, and we're sorry. We have a lot of people on the phone. Why do so many folks say the same thing, Dave, if it's not true?
Actually, so many folks do not say the same thing. What I hear from Scientologists...
Why don't you answer my phone every week?
What I hear from Scientologists are the people who are involved in Scientology. Or again, let me show this. The book Dianetics is something that people can read to understand it. What I get from people and what the membership has is their successes in life, how it is helping them. If this woman has a problem with a relative, she should call me.
You say people learn about Scientology from these books. But it is reported that if, in fact, those that are not among the inner echelon actually look at the doctrine of the church, they will get pneumia and they will die. They are taught that by Scientologists.
They are not taught by that.
OT3?
They are not
that?
taught.
I was taught that.
The materials of Scientology are very available.
These
are very available?
If you're
what
talking
about
about
the
rudeness,
spirits that are living in our bodies? That isn't told until after a person is very indoctrinated.
The methods of Scientology and the practice of Scientology is extremely available. It's in the two books I've held up. Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health,
That's not the
Fundamentals of Thought. There are scores of books on Dianetics and Scientology by L. Ron Hubbard that are available in any bookstore or library.
Okay, we see them advertised.
On the point of people having illnesses, I know a woman who was involved for 13 years who's now dying of cancer. And for 3 years, when she wanted to go to a doctor, she was told by the Scientology officials to be audited because that will get rid of her illness. And now she's going to die because Scientology did not encourage her to go to doctors and get tests.
Right.
They audited her instead.
I need to take one call. Good morning.
Good morning.
Go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Laura Poulin. I've been involved in Scientology
Gotta
for 8
have,
years.
sorry, wait, gotta have more audio. Can't hear you. Go right ahead.
Okay, hi. I've been involved in Scientology for 8 years, and I'm a working professional. I actually worked in the Office of Special Affairs in Boston for 4 years, and I left on my own free will without any duress whatsoever. And Scientology and Dianetics have both helped me incredibly. And a point I want to make is that Scientology and Dianetic counseling actually makes a person more aware, more alert, more self-determined than they were before.
Okay, were you asked to leave your family? Do you feel your mind was controlled?
No, completely not. Like, the point I'm trying to make is that I'm more aware and I'm more self-determined. I'm not determined by other people or other influences.
Okay, glad to hear from you. Let's try to get one more call in. Good morning.
Good morning.
Go right ahead.
Yes, I want to tell you that my sister has been a Scientologist now since the late 60s, and she tried to get me involved in Boston. And the Scientology right now, since the Time magazine article, is really trying to whitewash everything that they say and do. They're masters at lying. I've seen it firsthand. And the gentleman there, Mr. Aiden, keeps holding up the books. He's just trying to get more people to go out and buy the books. The gentleman in the red jacket, I think, is a Scientologist, really. And I think, ask Mr. Aiden how they deal with enemies of the church and open game on enemies of the church. Ask him what he means by that.
All right. What does that mean?
Fair
Open
game?
enemies, fair game?
The fair game?
What does it mean,
as it was said earlier, I'm more than happy to sit down with anyone and discuss
No, I'm asking
the
a question.
What is policy is to attack the attackers. Anybody that attacks Scientology is fair game.
Well, there's a very strong rumor in the entertainment business right now that John Travolta would like to leave Scientology, and the reason he isn't is because you have threatened to expose him as a homosexual.
National Enquirer material, actually. I both know people who have worked with John Travolta. He is very involved in Dianetics. He's very involved in the church that's closest to his home. And he's
There's been no threat made then, in other words?
Absolutely not.
None. Okay.
Absolutely not.
All right.
But former members report that they have experienced threats, coercion, blackmail, extortion by leadership of Scientology over a 30-year period of time.
If you're not a Scientologist, Reverend, why do you have all this stuff with you?
Because I prepared. Your producer said to me that part of the program, I said I'll be for freedom of speech and freedom of worship, and then I did research on Unification Church, on Scientology, so I can be an intelligent guest of yours.
Do you believe that Scientology practices are right? Correct?
Well, I'm not a Scientologist, so I haven't studied all the practices, but from what I gather from the friends I've made in Scientology, I believe it helps them.
They've given you the outside doctrine. They haven't
Wasn't
given
the
you the
producer
inside.
given your name by the Scientologists in order to come on the
It doesn't matter where. I am here. May I make one point before
go ahead, Reverend.
I am an American and proud of it. I'm a naturalized American. I came to this country because of the freedom of worship, freedom of speech, which I'm exercising now, thank God, which I couldn't do elsewhere. All right, the freedom of worship means every American has a right to develop his religion. We have a right to allow the NRMs to function, the new religious movements. And if for any reason they enter into crime or into into embezzlement, then we have a government, thank God, with authorities, with court and legal procedures to take care of them. Why is it that people like this are self-appointed authorities?
Yeah.
And that's wrong.
I'm sorry. Dave, final word.
Keep America free.
Real quick.
All I would say is that people should decide about Scientology dynamics themselves. Get the books, read them. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to these people.
Also
the fact
read
of the
A
matter
Piece
is,
of Blue Sky by John Atack and books like Combating Cult Mind Control.
People can
read
decide
both sides,
themselves.
though,
Okay.
before you
both
get
sides,
involved.
Combating Cult Mind Control.
A Piece of Blue Sky by John Atack, the book, there was a court case on it, and the author, John Atack, won. And so all that data has stood up to court scrutiny.
I have to thank you all. We are out of time. And for those callers that were on the line and didn't get through, I am sorry. There's a lot to cover here. Thank you very much. Good Day continues. Travel steamers. If you're a traveler and you want to know the best iron, well, we're about to test them. Frank Avers, Ted Reinstein, Susan Warnick, and I will be right back. Tomorrow, computer hackers.
At Fredder, you'll get 0% financing and better prices. A Whirlpool refrigerator. Fredder's everyday price was over $50 lower than Sears. And at Fredder, you get 0% financing. A Packard